I don't like cash. I really don't. I think a currency reset is coming. I think the US dollar is getting debased. I'd rather hold gold over US dollars, but cash is a necessary evil sometimes, because sometimes it's the practical move even if you hate it. And it's just a maths question, really. Here's how I think about it. I might lose 9% to dollar debasement this year if I sit in cash. I mean, it was 9% last year. I might lose 9% this year. That's not great. But if I hold something that's wildly overvalued, I might lose 50% in the same year. If I hold Nvidia, it could crash 50% this year. It's possible. So which one would I rather lose? Obviously the 9%. Also, there are some ways where you can hold stuff that's as good as cash without losing 9%, which I guess is, I should probably talk about that. I'll talk about that in a sec. Look, my point is most people feel like they are failing if they are not holding something and they're investors. But that feeling is a trap. You know what it actually is? This is especially true with new investors or traders. I experienced this when I was new. You feel like it's your job to be, as an investor or a trader, to actually invest or trade, to put money in the market. Not investing feels like you're failing. It feels like you're not doing your job. But sometimes not investing is the best possible choice. Look at Warren Buffett. He's holding $380 billion in cash right now. If you're 100% invested all the time, you've got zero ammo. Abel, the guy who's taken over for Buffett, the new CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, he said last weekend he's not anxious to deploy capital into subpar opportunities. And that there will be dislocations in the market, right? Buffett sat in the front row and nodded along. Look, he's not in cash because he's scared. He's in cash because the maths works out, because it makes sense right now. Now, while we're on this, I want to give you something actually useful, tips. I don't want to give you tips. Treasury inflation protected security. These are not a substitute for gold, and they are not a perfect inflation hedge. But if you're going to hold cash, you can hold it intelligently. I'll explain how tips work very quickly. The principal adjusts up with CPI. So when inflation runs, your principal runs with it. The 5-year tips at the latest auction came in with a real yield of about 1.367 with a break-even inflation rate of 2.58%. That's the highest break-even on a 5-year auction since October of 2022. There's a couple of caveats though with tips. The very short-term tip yields actually went negative right after the Iran war kicked off in February. And tips held inside a fund can lose money if rates move against you, but individual tips held to maturity lock in real return that beats inflation. And also tips aren't as liquid as just normal treasury securities, which is also a decent option, really. I mean, you could just get into treasury securities like Buffett is. Look, the point is, you just need to monitor the situation and be ready to get out of them if the dollar reset thing accelerates.